Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Chapter 4. Awakening. When he left the grove where the Buddha, the perfect one, remained, where Govinda remained, Siddhartha felt that his previous life, too, was remaining behind in this grove and separating from him. This sensation filled him fully, and he mused about it as he slowly walked away. He mused deeply, descending to the very bottom of this sensation, as if through deep water, all the way down to where the causes rest. For it seemed to him thinking is recognizing causes, and that is the only way in which sensations become insights. They are not lost. They become substance and begin to radiate what is within them. Slowly walking away, Siddhartha pondered. He realized he was no longer a youth. He had become a man. He realized that one thing had left him like the old skin that leaves the serpent. That one thing was no longer within him, a thing that had accompanied him throughout his youth and had belonged to him. The wish to have teachers and hear teachings. He had left the last teacher who had appeared on his path, left him too, the highest and wisest, the holiest, the Buddha. He had had to separate from him, had been unable to accept his teaching. The ponderer walked more slowly and asked himself, just what is it that you wanted to learn from teachings and from teachers, and that they, who have taught you a great deal, could not teach you after all? And he decided it was the ego whose meaning and being I wanted to learn. It was the ego of which I wanted to rid myself, which I wanted to overcome. But I could not overcome it. I could only deceive it, could only flee from it, only hide from it. Truly, nothing in the world has occupied my thoughts as much as this ego of mine, this enigmatic fact that I live, that I am one and separated and isolated from all others, that I am Siddhartha, and there is nothing in the world I know less about than myself, than Siddhartha. The thinking man, walking along slowly, halted, overcome by that thought, and instantly another thought sprang from that one, a new thought. There is only one reason, a single one, why I know nothing about myself, why Siddhartha has remained so foreign to myself, so unknown. The reason is that I was afraid of myself. I was fleeing myself. I was seeking Atman. I was seeking Brahma. I was willing to dismember my ego and peel it apart in order to find the core of all peels in its unknown innermost essence. To find Atman, life, the divine, the ultimate. But I myself was lost in the process. Siddhartha opened his eyes and looked around. A smile brightened his face, and a deep feeling of awakening from long dreams poured through him down to his toes. And instantly he broke into a run, ran swiftly, like a man who knows what he has to do. Oh, he thought, breathing a deep sigh of relief. I will no longer let Siddhartha slip away. I will no longer start my thinking and my living with Atman and the suffering of the world. I will no longer murder and dismember myself in order to find a secret beyond the rubble. Yoga Veda will no longer teach me, nor will Atharva Veda, nor the ascetics, nor any kind of teaching. I will learn from me, from myself. I will be my own pupil. I will get to know myself, the secret that is Siddhartha. He looked around as if seeing the world for the first time. Beautiful was the world, colorful was the world, bizarre and enigmatic was the world. There was blue, there was yellow, there was green, sky, flow, and river, forest jutted and mountain, everything beautiful, everything enigmatic and magical. And in the midst of it, he, Siddhartha, the awakening man, was on the way to himself. For the first time, all this yellow and blue river and forest passed into Siddhartha through his eyes. Was no longer the magic of Mara, was no longer the veil of Maya, was no longer senseless and random diversity of the world of appearance. Despised by the deep-thinking Brahmin, who disdains the diversity, who seeks the unity, blue was blue. River was river, and even though the One and the Divine lived concealed in the blue, and the river in Siddhartha, it was the manner and meaning of the Divine to be yellow here, blue here, sky there, forest there, and Siddhartha here. Meaning and reality were not somewhere beyond things, they were in them, in everything. How deaf and dense I was, thought the swift walker. If someone reads a manuscript trying to find its meaning, he does not scorn the signs and letters, calling them deception, happenstance, and worthless peels. Instead, he reads them, he studies them, and loves them, letter by letter. But I, who wanted to read the book of the world and the book of my own being, I, for the sake of a presumed meaning, scorned the signs and the letters. I called the world of appearances deception, called my eyes and my tongue random and worthless. No, that is past. I have awakened. I am truly awake. Today is the day of my birth. While thinking these thoughts, Siddhartha halted again, suddenly, as if a serpent were lying in his path. For suddenly, this was clear to him. He, who was truly awakened, or newly born, he had to begin his life anew and afresh. That same morning, when he had left the grove of Jetavana, the grove of that sublime one, when he had already been awakening, already on the path to himself, it had been his intention, an intention that seemed natural and self-evident, to return to his homeland and to his father after the years of his asceticism. But now, only in this moment, when he halted as if a serpent were lying in his path, he also awoke to this insight. I am no longer who I was. I am no longer an ascetic. I am no longer a priest. I am no longer a Brahmin. What am I to do at home, in my father's house? Study? Sacrifice? Cultivate meditation? All that is gone now. None of that lies on my path now. Siddhartha stood motionless, and for a moment, and for an instant of breathing, his heart froze. He felt it freezing in his chest, like a small animal, a bird or a hare. When he saw how alone he was. For years he had been homeless and had not felt it. But now he felt it, always, even in the most faraway meditation. He had been his father's son, had been a Brahmin, high-ranking, spiritual. Now he was only Siddhartha, the awakened, and nothing more. He took a deep breath, and for an instant he froze and shuddered. No one was so alone as he. No noble who did not belong among the nobles. No workman who did not belong among the workmen and found refuge with them, shared their life, spoke their speech. No Brahmin who was not counted among the Brahmins and lived with them. No ascetic who did not find refuge with the Samanas, and even the most forlorn hermit in the forest was not all alone. He too was surrounded by ties and bonds. He too belonged to a class that was his home. Govinda had become a monk, and 1,000 monks were his brothers, wore his garment, believed his belief, spoke his tongue. But he, Siddhartha, where did he belong? Whose life would he share? Whose tongue would he speak? From that moment, when the world melted away all around him, when he was alone like a star in the sky, from that moment of coldness and despondence, Siddhartha surfaced more ego than before, more concentrated. He felt that this had been the final shudder of awakening, the last cramp of birth, and instantly he started walking again, started walking swiftly and impatiently, no longer to his home, no longer to his father, no longer back.